next 2.5 weeks, Iowa is going to be the epicenter of the political world. The Iowa Caucuses happen on January the 3rd, and they kick off the primary season. Joining me from Iowa to explain why this state is so important, nationally syndicated talk show host and author of the book, We Won't Get Fooled Again, Where the Christian Right Went Wrong and How to Make America Right Again, my friend Steve Deace from Iowa. Steve, welcome. Good to have you here.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Good to see you again.
Everybody talks about the caucuses of Iowa, and they talk about them as if people really know what that means. Walk us through a caucus night. Tell us what happens when people go to a caucus as opposed to a primary election.
Totally different environment, Mike. I mean, first of all, a caucus may take place at your kid's school, might take place at your own church. A lot of times you stand up and explain why you're voting for somebody, or the candidates will have proxies that'll speak on their behalf. So let me just give you an analogy. I mean, let's say you go in there, you're looking at 2 or 3 candidates, you're not sure which one that you like the most, and the pastor in your church or your kid's teacher, somebody you respect, stands up and gives a really passionate speech for one of those candidates. They might sell you on that candidate right there at the caucus site. I mean, there's literally politicking and horse trading that goes on right there during the actual caucuses themselves. So it's a totally different environment than a primary.
And one of the things that happens, Steve, is that this is very public. It's not like you go in and quietly and secretly mark a ballot and slip out and your neighbors don't know how you vote. You got to take a stand in front of all your neighbors that live in your neighborhood.
You're right. I think this is why, particularly in the Iowa caucuses, you see Christian voters dominate, because if you're kind of a squishy rhino kind of voter, vote for the guy with the most money type, in a primary, you get to go, behind the curtain, pull the curtain, secretly vote for the squishy rhino type, and nobody knows any different. But at a caucus, when you're there with your kids' teachers, with your fellow parishioners at your church, and you've got to stand up and own the candidate you're supporting, it sort of has its own enforcement mechanism when it comes to the more principled candidates.
And this also indicates why polls are very unreliable in Iowa. It may look like a candidate is doing very well, but caucusing pulls out the intensity of a voter's support. Do you see somebody surprising us coming up January 3rd? Is there somebody that the media has overlooked that is going to be stronger than they expect?
I definitely think there is a chance either Michelle Bachmann and or Rick Santorum, Mike, will both finish way above their polling numbers. And I also think I'm hearing a lot of good things about Rick Perry's ads, the debate performance he had on Thursday night. I think he's got a chance to substantially improve where he is at. But in my opinion, the more likely scenario is that Michelle Bachmann and or Rick Santorum will finish a lot better than what polls are showing. I'll give you an example. Prior to the Iowa straw poll, the most credible poll of straw poll goers right before the event had Rick Santorum at 2%. He got 10% of the straw poll vote. So I think it's really impossible to gauge with such an organic process what the support is. Polls in the caucuses measure mind share more than market share, meaning they might measure more who's being talked about and who people are thinking about, but they don't necessarily measure what the actual support of the person they're thinking about really is.
Well, there are very few people I know in the whole country who understand, know, and keep up with the entire Iowa political scene any better than you do, Steve Deace. Thank you for joining us from Iowa, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it.